Yeah, that was huge last night when the Americans beat the Slovaks 5-1. Obviously, the Americans' best game of the Olympic tournament, now going in, playing the Czechs in the quarterfinal round. Game begins at 10, but that's a must-watch in the Olympics, and it's why I like the Winter Olympics more than the Summer Olympics. Olympic hockey, I think it's the best going. Track and field in the summertime doesn't have the strategy. I loved baseball. I loved watching the Cuban team back in the day. I loved seeing Tommy Lasorda take the gold medal in 2000 with the Americans and Pat Borders and that team. But you know what? Olympic hockey, the gold medal of the Americans in baseball in 2000 versus the gold medal in 1980 for the Americans in hockey, or for that matter, for the historians in 1960, there's no comparison. None. And I'm a baseball guy. But anyway, that's why I also, like I said, I've watched, certain things grow on you. The curling, I mean, admittedly, it can be a little like watching a chess tournament, but there does become a little bit of, this really is a strategic element here, if you get into it. See, Mr. T is now big into curling. There's a name from the past. I probably could have gotten away without telling you that here. I'm Marky Billson. It's Tri-City Sports Now. And I promise you two Tennessee football stories. One cannot go wrong talking. Play the hits. Talking Tennessee football, $365 a year. We can do that. John Adams asks if the Vols will regret losing Quinten Dormady for his senior year. And I, for one, say yes. Now, I realize that Dormady was the most intercepted quarterback for the Vols last year, but you know what? He didn't throw one against Georgia Tech, and that was, in a 4-8 year, the signature victory, say what you will, for Tennessee football, putting 42 points up on the board against Georgia Tech. Of course, the Yellow Jackets, kind of a bit in remiss. They were 5-6. I still want to know if UCF goes undefeated, if there isn't the weather that cancels the UCF, Central Florida, UCF Golden Knights, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets game back in September. But anyway, Dormady, of course, really, first became familiar with him 2 years ago, 2016, when he was basically the quarterback of note coming in the early going in Tennessee's 55-0 victory against Marcus Satterfield, now the OC at ETSU, and Tennessee Tech. Dormady, I do believe that the pro-style offense, the running quarterback that's going out in college football and certainly in the SEC, Dormady is someone who plays the pro-style offense. John Adams writes how Nathan Peterman flubbed at Tennessee, transfers to Pitt, actually, in my opinion, became a better quarterback than Josh Dobbs. And I've said this before. I've said, look at their stats, 2016, head-to-head against Virginia Tech. I've said, look at the fact that Peterman beats Clemson, the national champion, in Clemson, putting up 43 with 5 touchdown passes, and Dobbs loses at home to number 2, Alabama, that same season, 49-10. Look at the fact that Peterman became the number 2 starter, for better or worse, or the number 2 quarterback, and eventually the starter for the Buffalo Bills last year, while Josh Dobbs still continued to be the number 3 with the Steelers. Nobody figured that he would beat out Ben Roethlisberger. That's not what I'm suggesting he ought to do. I am kind of suggesting that, Landry Jones isn't that tough to beat out. Sort of like a T.J. Yates, which is what Peterman did. Anyway, Adams goes on and notes that not only Peterman, but Riley Ferguson has done quite well after transferring from Tennessee. And so did B.J. Coleman, who transferred. Many Southern Conference fans will remember this. Going to Chattanooga, nearly thrown for 7,000 yards in 3 seasons. And he was even drafted 6 years ago by the Green Bay Packers. And we can go down the list of guys who transfer away. I mean, I don't think the Vols win the national championship in '98 if Brandon Stewart doesn't transfer to Texas A&M, and then in the Big 12 championship game knocks off, at that time, undefeated Kansas State, and thereby knocking off a Kansas State-Tennessee Fiesta Bowl instead of a Chris Wenke-less Florida State-Tennessee Fiesta Bowl. Something to think about. Adams, and I do think he tends to be a little sympathetic, he actually writes that Dormady could be a pro prospect. I'm not sold on that, but we'll have to wait and see with that. Still, yeah, when you look at Tennessee this year, would they be stronger, I think, with a pro-style quarterback in his senior year who's had some success? And in terms of wins and losses, in terms of putting victories on the board, more success than any other quarterback. Like I said, on the roster now. I mean, what did Jared Garantano get you? Victory against Southern Mississippi, perhaps? All right. So, 24-10, really? Anyway, that's the point being made here by John Adams a couple of days ago. Dormady, I'm trying to see, now he has not necessarily announced where he is going to transfer to, if memory serves. I'm going to have to double check that, but something to look for. And, the long knives, I guess, will be out for the contemporary Tennessee quarterbacks, although Tennessee fans tend to be quite supportive. You did hear a few, how did they let Riley Ferguson go away last year, and a lot of sympathetic media, defending the decision. We get that, etc. Okay, but, you have to look at circumstances. You have to look at, for that matter, Riley Ferguson's maturity at the time he did transfer from UT. There was some talk that he was going to quit football. Nevertheless, was that the environment of Butch Jones? Was he that much bully coach at the time? Anyway, let's talk a little bit, though, about the scholarships that Jeremy Pruitt will have. According to Patrick Brown of 24/7, the Vols right now, of a possible 85 scholarships they could have, might have as many as 10 fewer than that. Does that mean more graduate transfers late? Does that mean, well, possibly. Does that mean Juan Jennings comes back? You got to figure they'll keep one open for him if he does come back. What does it all mean? I will say this. Last year I saw two really glaring red lights flashing that I thought indicated that the local football teams, both ETSU and Tennessee, might be in line for some tough years. And they are signals that if this happens to your college football program, don't be that optimistic for the season. The first one was about a year ago from this time. ETSU started putting up notifications basically saying, hey, if you're a contemporary student for ETSU, would you like to try out for the football program? And when you're making that sort of thing public, it generally states that we are desperate for depth. Yeah, we will have a Rudy on this team because we are desperate for depth. ETSU goes 4-7. Similarly, start of the year, you heard about the hardworking walk-on who earned a scholarship at Tennessee. Great story. But why is there a scholarship available for him? That's the question. Are you not running? Do you not have a full boat? Obviously, there wasn't last year. And those are two things that happen. I would expect, with what the reports are, 77 to 75 scholarships of a possible 85 for the Vols in 2018. Well, Yeah, you'll probably see a walk-on or two get a scholarship. You'll probably see another player who's somewhat up in the air. They also mentioned Chance Hall as an offensive lineman. Some may remember him. He's got some health problems, so perhaps you keep a scholarship around for him. And if he has to quit, then you do the nice thing and you give it to the hard-working walk-on. Hopefully you do. Save him some bucks, that sort of thing. Okay, that's fantastic. But if you've got 8 to 10 scholarships available for 2018 at this point in the year, that doesn't speak well of your chances to compete in the SEC, and dare I say the SEC East, in 2018. Jeremy Pruitt has a major rebuilding project with him. And he's got it in what is historically the toughest conference in college football. We can debate. I did think 2 years ago when Clemson won a national title, the ACC was a little bit better. I made no bones about that. But it's still one where, a program, even Tennessee, 4-8, yes, playing very poorly at the end of the year, sure, but one that could go to Atlanta and beat a semi-respectable Georgia Tech squad. Respectable, and finish 5-6. It was a team that could blow out Indiana State. Maybe that's like saying I knocked out Glass Joe. It's a positive. Yeah, sure, I get that. 17-13 against Massachusetts with their top 2 players out. That's not too good. I get that, sure. But at the same time, it was a team that was 9 seconds away from taking Florida into overtime. I realized Florida wasn't all that and a bag of chips, but even so, 1 yard away from beating South Carolina, who wound up 9-4. There were some highlights. I don't think, I've gone on record and saying, really, coming back, Trey Smith, Ty Chandler, that's all that really impresses me right now. Marquez Callaway, maybe, the wide receiver. I don't know. But really, there aren't that many players coming back for Tennessee that really impress me, that I say, yeah, that's a player that I think, it's going to be good in the future and all that. 1 lineman and a sophomore running back. That's about it. So, again, major rebuilding project, and maybe the first sign right there of a long Tennessee season, because you've got 10 scholarships, possibly, still out there for 2018. And that's a big signal. How soon does it come out where they put up in Knoxville the announcement that, oh yeah, if there's any student body that's in shape and all that, you want to try out for the football team? Just like we saw at ETSU last year. Hey, J-Ray's Heating and Air in Irwin. From installation, maintenance, and repair for your heating and air, they're locally owned and insured, bonded and traded. All you got to do is call up Jake Keplinger. He's at 423-948-8016 for your free estimate. Jake Keplinger at J-Ray's Heating and Air. Free estimate to be had for all your heating and air conditioning needs at 423-948-8016. And you know what? If you didn't get that phone number, I will tell you how you can get it. Like 1420 NBC Sports Radio Tri-Cities on Facebook. And then go back to the segment we just had, to the end of it. We archive it. You can get the number from there, and you can hear what I had to say again about the 10 scholarships that Tennessee has coming up, available, as many as 10, I suppose there can only be 8, for the upcoming season. Plus also, I think that the best quarterback that Tennessee has potentially returning will not return and will instead transfer away. I'm Marky Billson. When you come back, ETSU and the Citadel. ETSU could clinch the Southern Conference Men's Basketball Championship outright today. I'll tell you how that can happen when we return on Tri-City Sports Now.